Space was silent, but Lieutenant Commander David Mercer swore he could feel the heartbeat of the beast. The USS Valiant floated in high orbit over Ganymede, its running lights casting faint halos over the shattered remains of war. A decade had passed since the last shots were fired here, yet the battlefield had not been cleared. The wreckage of Terran and Kuldar vessels alike still drifted like tombstones, casting long shadows in the light of distant Jupiter. And there, at the center of it all, was the thing that had haunted Mercer's dreams for 10 long years. The Zath core. It hung in space like a dead god, a titanic warship larger than any city on Earth. Its hull was blackened and torn, its alien spires twisted by the fury of battle, but its shape still radiated menace. Every Terran who laid eyes on it felt the same chill, the memory of fire raining down from orbit, of cities turned to glass. The Zath core had been the Kuldar's flagship, the executioner's blade of the Dominion, before it had fallen here in the final hours of the war. Now it was humanity's prize. And, as of tonight, its greatest gamble. Mercer stood on the Valiant's observation deck, hands clasped behind his back, staring at the monster through reinforced glass. It was quiet on the deck, just the faint hum of life support systems and the occasional ping of telemetry updates as the Terran engineers worked aboard the alien vessel. The air smelled faintly of ozone and lubricant, a mix Mercer had come to associate with new beginnings, though tonight, it tasted like a storm brewing. A soft chime sounded behind him, and the deck doors hissed open. Chief Engineer Rachel Vaughn stepped through, her boots ringing against the deck. She carried a datapad under one arm, her red hair pulled back in a tight braid, her expression taut. "You're early," she said. Mercer didn't look away from the dreadnought. "Couldn't sleep." Rachel joined him at the glass, her eyes reflecting the cold glow of the Zath core. "No one could. We've been tearing that thing apart for 10 years, David. I still can't believe we're about to turn it on." He finally turned to her, his face lit by the pale starlight. "Is it ready?" Rachel hesitated, then offered him the datapad. "Ready as it'll ever be. Primary reactors stable. We've replaced about 60% of the neural lattice with Terran interfaces, but," she blew out a slow breath, "the rest of it is still very much alien. We'll be flying half-blind, trusting systems we don't fully understand." Mercer took the datapad and scanned the final readiness report. Every line of it represented thousands of hours of work, the combined effort of the Solar Assembly's brightest engineers, working in secret shipyards while the rest of humanity rebuilt its cities and mourned its dead. He handed the pad back. "Then we stop trusting, and start fighting. Power her up." Rachel nodded once, sharply, then tapped her comms earpiece. "Engineering, this is Vaughn. Initiate activation sequence." The deck lights dimmed. For a long moment, nothing happened, and then, far beyond the glass, the Zath core stirred. Its hull lit with faint, glowing veins of light, alien runes crawling across its surface like awakening nerves. A low, thrumming vibration rolled through the Valiant, deep enough that Mercer could feel it in his bones. The Zath core's engines ignited, not with a roar but with a low, resonant hum, like the breath of some colossal beast inhaling for the first time in a decade. Rachel glanced at Mercer. Reactor output rising. Stabilizing at 94%. Control matrix is syncing with Valiant's bridge systems. "Bring us aboard," Mercer said. Within minutes, he and Rachel were aboard the alien dreadnought, the Valiant's crew forming a skeleton complement on its bridge. The space was cavernous, a cathedral of alien design, sharp arches of black metal, control stations lit with eerie bioluminescence, the deck plates humming with power. "Tactical, status," Mercer ordered. Ensign Elliot Reyes, young but sharp-eyed, ran his hands over the hybrid interface. "Shields online, though power distribution is still adapting to our grid." "Weapons are," he trailed off, staring at the display. "Sir, some of these systems, I can't even pronounce what they are. But they're armed." Rachel was at the engineering console, fingers flying. Propulsion at 40%. Maneuvering thrusters responding. "She's sluggish, but she'll move." Mercer settled into the command chair, the alien metal surprisingly warm beneath his hands. He exhaled slowly, letting the tension settle over him. For a moment, there was only the hum of the ship, the glow of the consoles, and the silent presence of the dreadnought itself, as if it were listening. Then the alarms screamed. Unscheduled jump signature. Reyes shouted. His display filled with icons as new contacts appeared on the edge of the system. Multiple Kulvar warships inbound, heavy cruisers and carriers. They just dropped out of FTL near Callisto orbit. Rachel's head snapped up. The Dominion? Here? Mercer felt his stomach turn to ice. Put them on main display. The holographic view flared to life, projecting the enemy fleet, sleek, angular ships bristling with weapons, spreading into a battle formation with mechanical precision. Sir, Reyes swallowed. They know the Zathcor's active. They're vectoring straight for us. The bridge speakers crackled. A guttural, layered voice filled the air, the Kulvar tongue, harsh and metallic. The translator AI struggled for a moment, then spoke in flat, chilling Terran standard. Terrans. You were warned. The Zathcor is property of the Dominion. You will surrender the vessel and submit to judgment. Resist, and you will be annihilated. Rachel turned to Mercer, her face pale. They came back for their ship. Or to make sure no one ever uses it against them, Mercer said grimly. The bridge was quiet for a heartbeat. The crew looked to him, waiting. Mercer's decision came like lightning. Helm, he said, his voice low but unshakable. Take us out. Bring main guns online. Rachel blinked. David, she's not ready. She doesn't have to be ready, Mercer growled. She just has to fight. The deck shuddered as the Zathcor's engines roared, driving the massive dreadnought forward. Beyond the viewport, the enemy fleet was closing, the stars blotted out by the silhouettes of warships. For the first time in a decade, the Zathcor, the monster that had once terrorized Earth, was no longer the Dominion's weapon. It was humanity's. And the war was about to begin again. The bridge was bathed in a dim red glow, emergency lighting pulsing like a heartbeat. The Zathcor surged forward, its massive engines pushing it toward the oncoming enemy formation. Lieutenant Commander David Mercer gripped the arms of the command chair, every muscle taut. The alien dreadnought didn't just move, it glided, like a predator through dark water, each thruster firing with a precision that was both beautiful and unnerving. Tactical, report, Mercer said. Ensign Elliot Reyes's fingers danced across the console, sweat shining on his brow. We've got 12 confirmed Kulvar signatures, 5 heavy cruisers, 6 escorts, and a carrier. They're spreading into a trident formation, standard Dominion doctrine. Rachel Vaughn didn't look up from the engineering station. Her voice was sharp, clipped. Reactor output is holding at 98%. I'm routing auxiliary power to shields and weapons, but this ship's still operating at half capacity. We don't even know what half these systems do. Then we'll learn fast, Mercer said grimly. The first enemy salvo came in like a storm, streaks of molten plasma and kinetic slugs that lit up the void. The Zathcor's shields flared, a dome of crimson energy rippling outward with every impact. The deck vibrated under Mercer's boots, but the ship held. Shields absorbing damage, Reyes reported, astonished. Minimal bleed through to the hull. Mercer's jaw tightened. Our turn. Target the lead cruiser. Open fire. A low, resonant hum filled the bridge as the Zathcor's forward batteries charged. Alien runes along the walls pulsed brighter and brighter until the light was almost blinding. Then, the dreadnought spoke. A single beam of energy lanced across the void, white-hot and perfectly straight, cutting the darkness in two. The lead Kulvar cruiser didn't explode. It simply ceased to exist, one moment a warship, the next a cloud of vapor and glowing wreckage. The bridge fell silent. Rachel exhaled slowly. That wasn't just a gunshot. That was annihilation. Reyes swallowed hard. One shot, one kill. Sir, they're breaking formation. Indeed, the enemy fleet was scattering, their trident formation collapsing as they scrambled to flank the dreadnought. The carrier launched waves of fighters, insect-like craft that darted forward, weapons blazing. Point defense online, Mercer snapped. Clear our airspace. The Zathcor's hull erupted with light as dozens of smaller turrets came alive, tracking and firing in perfect unison. Fighters died by the dozen, shredded into fireballs, but more kept coming. One slipped past the defensive screen, slamming a plasma torpedo into the dreadnought's port side. The deck bucked violently, throwing crew members against consoles. Rachel cursed, fingers flying over controls. We lost a secondary shield node rerouting power now. Mercer steadied himself, his voice a razor's edge. Hold her together. Helm, bring us about. Line up the carrier. The dreadnought turned with surprising grace, its massive bulk pivoting until the carrier filled the forward viewport. The alien ship loomed like a floating fortress, launch bays glowing as it prepared to disgorge another wave. Fire, Mercer said. This time, the Zathkor's main weapon unleashed 3 rapid pulses. The first 2 gutted the carrier's engines. The third punched straight through its core, igniting a chain reaction that tore the vessel apart in a brilliant fireball. Cheers erupted from some of the younger crew, but Mercer didn't smile. His eyes were on the tactical display, where the surviving cruisers were closing in from both flanks. They're trying to box us in, Reyes warned. If they get us in crossfire, even these shields won't hold. Mercer made his choice. Then we don't stay still. Rachel, give me everything you've got in the reactor. Helm, maximum thrust, let's cut right through them. The Zathkor surged forward like a charging bull, its engines howling. Plasma fire lanced past on both sides, but the shields flared brighter, absorbing the blows. The dreadnought's secondary batteries opened up, raking one cruiser until its hull ruptured and its reactor went critical, the explosion briefly illuminating the battle like a second sun. Inside the bridge, the tension was suffocating. Sweat beaded on Reyes' forehead as he called out firing solutions, his voice hoarse. Rachel's hands blurred over the controls, fighting to keep the ship's systems balanced as power surged dangerously close to overload. Radiator temps spiking, she shouted. If we keep this output much longer, we're going to cook ourselves. Then we finish this fast. Mercer barked. The Zathkor's main beam fired again, this time sweeping across space like a scythe, catching 2 enemy ships in its arc. Both cruisers were bisected, their wreckage drifting apart in silence. But even victory had its price. Another wave of plasma torpedoes struck, slipping through the faltering shields. The bridge shuddered, lights flickering. Warning klaxons wailed as damage reports scrolled across Rachel's console. Portside armor is breached, she said, her face pale. We've lost 2 of the point defense batteries. Reyes looked up from his console. Sir, more jump signatures, they're bringing reinforcements. We can't take them all. Mercer stared at the tactical display. The surviving Dominion ships were regrouping, and more were arriving by the second. Even with the Zathkor's terrifying firepower, they were about to be overwhelmed. Rachel's voice broke the silence. David, we need to get out of here. The ship is powerful, but it's still running on partial systems. If we stay, we die, and the Zathkor dies with us. Mercer's fist clenched on the armrest. Every instinct screamed to keep fighting, to finish what they'd started, but she was right. If the Dominion destroyed this ship now, humanity's one chance at fighting back would be gone forever. Helm, he said at last, his voice low and controlled. Prepare the jump drive. Get us clear of the system. Rachel was already ahead of him, rerouting power to the alien drive core. The deck thrummed as the jump capacitors spun up, the light in the bridge turning a strange, electric blue. Coordinates locked, Reyes reported. Deep space vector. They won't be able to follow immediately. Do it, Mercer ordered. Outside the viewport, the stars stretched into white streaks as the Zathkor hurled itself into faster-than-light travel. The Dominion fleet vanished behind them, left with nothing but wreckage and the ghosts of their dead. The bridge fell silent except for the hiss of cooling systems. Rachel slumped against her console, breathing hard. We survived, she said, almost in disbelief. Mercer didn't answer right away. He was still staring at the viewport, at the blur of hyperspace rushing past. No, he said finally. His voice was quiet, but it carried across the bridge. We didn't just survive. We sent a message. No one replied. No one had to. The jump completed with a bone-shaking lurch, and the stars snapped back into place. For a moment, no one spoke. The bridge crew of the Zathkor simply stared at the viewport, letting the silence wash over them. Here, at the farthest edge of the solar system, beyond the last whisper of Jupiter's pull, space was a perfect, infinite black, empty, cold, and still. Only then did Rachel Vaughn let out the breath she had been holding. Her shoulders slumped against her chair, sweat matting strands of red hair against her temples. Reactor output falling back to normal. Hull integrity, stable, somehow. She gave a humorless laugh. We shouldn't even be alive. Lieutenant Commander David Mercer stood slowly from the command chair, the weight of what had just happened pressing down on him like a physical force. The ship still vibrated faintly beneath his boots, a reminder of the power that had just been unleashed and of how close they had come to dying with it. Elliot Reyes broke the silence, his voice hoarse. "Sir, long-range scans are clear. No pursued yet. We bought ourselves time." Mercer turned toward the viewport, gazing at the distant stars. "Time's not enough," he said quietly. Rachel looked at him, frowning. "What are you thinking?" He turned to face the crew, his expression grim, resolute. 10 years. That's how long we waited. We rebuilt, we mourned, we hoped the Dominion wouldn't come back. Tonight they did. We didn't choose this war, but we have the one weapon that can end it. There was a long silence. The hum of the alien ship's systems filled the void between his words. Rachel leaned forward. "David, you're saying we go on the offensive? We're not ready. We barely kept this thing together in that fight." "Then we make it ready," Mercer said. "We learn this ship, inside and out. We turn it into something more than just their weapon. We turn it into ours." For the next 3 weeks, the Zathkor became a crucible. Deep in interstellar dark, the crew worked in shifts around the clock. Rachel led engineering teams as they crawled through alien maintenance shafts, ripping out damaged conduits and installing Terran replacements. The neural lattice was mapped node by node, reprogrammed where possible, bridged with human-built processors where it wasn't. Every day brought discoveries, some terrifying, some miraculous. Entire weapons arrays hidden in the ship's architecture, shield systems that could bend physics, engines capable of maneuvers no Terran ship could match. And the more they learned, the more the Zathkor seemed to respond. Rachel swore it wasn't just mechanical. "It's like the ship wants to fight," she told Mercer one night, exhaustion and awe mixing in her voice. "Every time we repair something, it self-optimizes. Its systems are evolving." Mercer didn't argue. He had begun to feel it too, a strange bond, as if the ship had accepted them, was letting them wield its power. When they finally returned to the Sol system, they didn't sneak in. They came back like thunder. The Dominion fleet was already there, blockading Earth's orbit. Dozens of warships hung like wolves circling a wounded prey, their weapons trained on the planet below. Terran civilian traffic was dead silent, grounded under martial law. The moment the Zathkor's FTL signature flared into existence, every Dominion ship turned toward it. "They've detected us," Reyes reported unnecessarily. The tactical display was already a sea of red icons, vectoring toward them. "Good," Mercer said. His voice was calm, ice-cold. "Rachel, bring weapons online. Shields to full. Today we end this." The Zathkor moved like a predator loosed from its cage, its massive frame gliding toward the enemy fleet. The first wave of plasma fire came in hot enough to wipe out a Terran fleet twice over and splashed harmlessly against the dreadnought's newly optimized shields. Then Mercer gave the order. "Fire." The Zathkor answered with light and fury. Its main gun carved through the void, sighting 3 cruisers apart in one shot. Secondary batteries filled the dark with streams of coherent energy, vaporizing fighter squadrons before they could even form up. For the first time in recorded history, Dominion ships were not the hunters, they were the prey. Rachel worked furiously at her console, rerouting power, synchronizing human and alien systems. The ship's reactor sang like a living thing, output climbing higher than it ever had before. "They can't even scratch us," Reyes said, stunned. His hands shook as he called out targeting solutions. We're unstoppable. Don't get cocky, Mercer warned. But he felt it too, the shift. The crew, the ship, even the battle itself seemed to move in harmony, like a symphony reaching its crescendo. One by one, Dominion ships died. The Zathkor struck with precision, dismantling the blockade piece by piece. When the last carrier tried to flee, Mercer gave the order to pursue, and the dreadnought's engines hurled them forward faster than any Terran ship had ever moved. The carrier never had a chance. When it was over, the silence was deafening. The battlefield around Earth was littered with the burning wreckage of the Dominion's finest warships. Mercer stood at the center of the bridge, staring at the devastation. He could see Earth through the viewport now, shining blue and white against the black. For the first time in a decade, it was free. "Open a system-wide channel," he ordered. Reyes complied, and Mercer's face appeared on every screen in the Sol system, from the orbital colonies to the command bunkers buried deep under Earth's crust. His voice carried to every surviving ship, every soldier, every civilian. "This is Commander David Mercer of the Terran Defense Force," he said. His voice was steady, hard as forged steel. 10 years ago, they came here as conquerors. They thought they had broken us. Tonight, we proved them wrong. This is no longer about survival. This is about justice, about every life lost, every city burned, every voice silenced. He looked into the camera, into the galaxy beyond. "To the Dominion, hear me well. You built this ship to terrorize us. You left it behind as a warning. But you made one mistake." Mercer's voice dropped, cold as the void. "You gave it to humanity." The channel cut out. On the bridge, Rachel smiled faintly, exhausted but proud. Reyes let out a low whistle. Around them, the crew straightened, as if the weight of 10 years had been lifted from their shoulders. Mercer turned back to the viewport. The Zathkor loomed ahead of them, its alien lines glowing with Terran modifications, its weapons still warm from battle. It was no longer a ghost of the war that had nearly ended them. It was their warship now. And across the stars, the Dominion would learn that humanity was done running.